So much for efficiency. Wait, they're still at it? Well, thanks for waiting for me, I guess.
This needs to stop. Now.
If you've watched the first part of this, you already know that your intel is wrong. But let's ignore that for now. What is it the Black Lives Matter people are actually trying to accomplish? I guess end systemic racism? Well, okay, I'm all for that. So stop affirmative action. Because if you want your society to thrive, you need to base things on merit and not on race. Because that is by definition racist. And also stupid. Doesn't it make more sense if the most intelligent people get the best education, no matter what they look like? And shouldn't the people who are most qualified for the job also be the ones who get hired? You know how the Democrats especially are crying all day about global warming and green energy. There's more though, ocean pollution, cancer, the CCP virus even. So in a time like this, where we are more than ever depending on science, isn't it kinda stupid letting the dumber kids play with the expensive toys? Just so no one feels left out and we meet our diversity quota. And yes, in case you're wondering, that would mean that less Hispanic and less black people get to go to college. You wouldn't build a ramp to make it possible for an elephant to sit on a branch either, would you? If it belonged in a tree, it would find its way up there by itself. Don't look at me like that. Dumbo did. If one has the qualifications necessary for college, then he's allowed to go. And that's between him and his grades. And those aren't racist. Numbers aren't racist. Math isn't oh wait. Yeah, never mind. These are the people who claim that some races need preferential treatment because they are too stupid to accomplish anything by themselves. Quite demeaning, wouldn't you say? And who does this actually help? Not the people who are allowed into an environment they aren't able to handle. Definitely not the ones who actually deserve to be there, but don't get to go because we have to meet the diversity quota. Also not society, because it gets robbed of the progress those smart minds would have been responsible for. The only ones getting something out of this are the people who like to accuse others of racism, because they can now feel all superior, for they have helped out those who, they think, aren't good enough. Now, that's racist. And so is the socioeconomic excuse, by the way. Because that would mean that black people have no choice in the matter if they're criminals or not. It's all up to the white man. If he only stopped structural racism, then the black man wouldn't be forced to take drugs, steal, rape or kill. I find this especially offensive since I'm very big on choice. It's your choice what you do with your life. You might not have all the possibilities because of your financial situation, but that doesn't mean that you have to become a killer or a rapist even. And if you deny that, then you're basically saying that those black criminals are animals who aren't able to make their own decisions, like mentally stable human beings are supposed to. And that again is kinda racist. Also, I don't know what defunding the police is gonna change there, but maybe that's a separate goal. At least they aren't chanting for dead cops anymore.
All cops, if there is such thing as a good cop, which I don't think there is, they should quit.
Yeah.
The only good cop that's still employed is a dead cop.
Yep.
If you are a good cop, you've already resigned. Hold on, no. Oh, fuck. I wanted to die, motherfucker, die. Bro. I want the state of America abolished.
It's time to stop.
Pro.
It's time to stop, okay? No more.
Beautiful.
Where the fuck are your parents? Who are your
That's
parents?
it.
I'm gonna call Child Protective Services.
Oh.
It's time to stop.
Stand over there.
Well, at least not all of them.
It is a yes or a no. It is a yes or a no. Will you defund the Minneapolis Police Department?
I do not support the full abolition of police.
All right, get the fuck out of here.
Ah, there we go. They seem to be satisfied with defunding them. They want no more police.
We don't want no more police.
Though, who do you think that will hurt the most? The rich white people are gonna get their private security. The ones who are unprotected are the poor people, and definitely the blacks. And we know who's responsible for most of their deaths. I guess the N-word logic applies here. If a black guy says it,
They call him boss nigga.
no one bats an eye. And in the case of black lives, they matter only if they aren't taken by a black guy. But let's forget about that for a moment. What do you think will happen if you completely give up your police force? Alongside ICE and prisons. I don't know if you have noticed what's going on in... Yeah, not that. I'm talking about these fine associations of extraordinary gentlemen. You already got a little taste of them through MS-13 and their rivals. Those two even I have heard about over here. Anyway, what do you think will happen to the Mexican drug war once those gangs hear that America doesn't have any law enforcement anymore? Well, from what I've heard, the Democrats are already speaking Spanish at their debates. So all according to plan, I'll take it.
Unacceptable.
Though that's probably not gonna happen. People losing their livelihoods thanks to peaceful riots are not gonna vote for politicians who support the people who are now trashing their businesses and apartment buildings and libraries? But them voting for Trump is the least of your concerns. You know, seeing all those Black Lives Matter riots, even though there were all races among them, makes it very easy to see all black people like that. And that's where the actual racists come in. Who was it who trashed your business?
There were opportunists who smashed up windows using cars and weapons and looted dozens and dozens of luxury stores.
Robbed you? Killed people? For not buying into their victim narrative? Even though they are usually the aggressors. See what I'm doing here? The racists don't even have to make shit up. And it won't matter that not every black person is for Black Lives Matter. There are actually many who speak out against it. But I doubt many people will care at this point. The riots have gone on for months. Months. And Black Lives Matter could have had this in the bag easily. After George Floyd's death, everybody was on their side. Everybody wanted police reform. But they didn't just overplay their hand. They stuffed it into a bottle, lit it on fire, and then threw it through a window. Now, more and more people catch on that the goals of Black Lives Matter aren't honorable. That their whole foundation is based on deception. And don't forget that blacks have been getting a race bonus through affirmative action for years now. And Black Lives Matter is still playing the victim card, while accusing white people of being the devil. You see how this adds up. Even without the riots and the looting. The pretend to be oppressed are now the true oppressors. Which brings me back to you, Conan. You're the big history buff.
You may not know this about me, or you may. I'm a history buff. I love American history.
How has history treated those who supported the deceptive and self-entitled side? I mean, I'm definitely not as well-versed in your country's past, but trust me, I've been confronted plenty with the aberrations of my ancestors.
Dieser Versager, dieser Schmarotzer.
But more about that in part 3.
Verrat an meiner Person! An meiner Person!
Yeah. Anyway, if the white people were so bad back in the day, why is Hong Kong so desperately trying to hold on to the values the Brits brought them? Now, what they're protesting for I can actually get behind. And they're doing it mostly peacefully. There is some violence, which I'm against of course, but I don't see anyone looting or destroying businesses. It seems like they have a common goal, and not just misguided rage in a victim complex. That reminds me, if there are any black gay protesters watching this, I know of someone who would happily be on the receiving end of your rage. Here's a picture, and here's how you can contact him. Anyway, someone should really help Hong Kong and stop Black Lives Matter.
Donald Trump has announced that he'll be deploying National Guard and federal law enforcement into Kenosha, Wisconsin, after what may be the worst night of civil unrest we have seen yet. For those that haven't heard the news, a young man who was armed and defending private property was attacked. He fired upon 3 people. 2 of them are dead. 1 of them is injured. But it's not just this one story. There's another story about a group of Black Lives Matter activists who were traveling from Milwaukee to Washington, D.C., engaging in a firefight with locals in rural Pennsylvania. One individual was hit with birdshot, I believe, in the face. Over the past several months, we have seen an escalation of the violence in these riots, and Donald Trump has repeatedly offered federal assistance and asked these governors to deploy National Guard, but they kept saying no. In one instance, the mayor of Chicago said, "I don't need leadership lessons from Donald Trump." And then only a few weeks later, mass rioting and looting struck the city. The unrest will not stop until these Democratic politicians step up and call out the violence and send in police to do their jobs. But in every single one of these jurisdictions, they have not done that. In Portland, the DA has repeatedly said he will not be prosecuting many of these individuals. Well, it's about time something gets done. And Donald Trump is now doing it. And my respect to the governor of Wisconsin for accepting this assistance. They like to call Donald Trump a fascist. They lied, claiming he was sending out federal police officers to all of these different jurisdictions. He never did. Maybe if he did, this would not have happened. But now they are finally starting to turn around. The pundit class and these Democrats are finally accepting the people have had enough. Unfortunately, I don't believe they're turning a new leaf because they realized that the violence was hurting innocent people. Don Lemon put it best when he said, "It's starting to show up in the polls." And only because of that are the Democrats now stepping up and saying, we must end the violence. If only they listened sooner.
Can you help a nigga out and just stop this? Please?